I've not watched any of these games, so it's gonna be like a blind review of just like how a slightly more experienced draft player would look at the games. So I'm going into all of these blind. I'm going to tell you what I'll be looking at when I see them onto the screen, and so hopefully, guys can take some stuff away from it. So I've gone in order and like open up all these tabs of the order of which the games were played. So the game one is
Mhm.
between Sophia and Fairy. So obviously, Sophia is bringing her science band team. She has the psychic terrain, armor root from expanding force, Nem for dark types, Night Mana for uh, just redirection, and then looks like Legender for the priority tailwind plus shift tree. Shift tree can set up its own tailwind, can fake out, can abuse Wind Rider, and it can explode. And then you look on a fairy side, and it looks pretty centered around Palafin. Uh, Jump Love exists for both fast tailwind, sleep powder, and other nonsense. And Klefki screens, Shed Tail from uh, Orpheum would all support the Palafin ideally. Azelf is an interesting bring here because I think Azelf gets expanding force as well, which is probably why there is a Terra Dark on Sophia's Indeedee to better cope with the opposing expanding force. And I have no idea what the tree is doing here. At face value, it does look like a fairy's gonna have a rough time because I do think that in order to get this screens, Shedtail, Palafin, such an in and out thing going on to buy enough turns, uh, it's very reliant on jump bluff, being able to put stuff to sleep, I think. But it's gonna be really hard to put stuff to sleep with a Mike Mortar on the field because Mike Mortar has both Follow Me and Vital Spirit if Sophia chooses. Because I mean it can either be Flame Body or Vital Spirit, but I do think if it's not Vital Spirit in this matchup, it's very strange because I mean Flame Body can burn stuff like the Palafin and the Dodrio, but uh yeah, I think Vital Spirit is just really nice to be able to uh be completely immune to sleep powder and consistently redirect it. Now, it is Terra Grass Magmortar, which means that if it does Terra, it's going to be immune to the sleep powder anyways, or it could be carrying safety goggles regardless, but that could be a little bit of a waste if it could just run Vital Spirit anyway. Yeah, let's start looking at the turn one. Okay, so we got Fletchinda, Shift Tree, Klefki, Palafin. Okay, so Palafin is the lead, clearly wants to just like instantly either flip turn or switch out. Klefki probably gonna set up a screen. Fledgling is gonna set up Tailwind, and Shift Tree was named Nusly for over. It's either gonna click Fake Out or it's gonna instantly attack the Palafin slot. That's what I'll be guessing. Unless, of course, the Shift Tree has Brick Break, which if it does a Brick Break, I would just recommend just like spamming Brick Break into either the Palafin slot or the Klefkin slot. So we're gonna see Tailwind, we're gonna see Wind Rider activate. Thunder Wave is not effective on dark types, and knockoff just Toxic Orb. Huh? That's just naturally on that. Okay, okay. It's a setup or form. It's only clicked Thunder Wave so far. Considering the fact that it's protected or he has lefties or something, Fletching gets paralyzed. Foul play does a lot to the shift tree. Um, Fletchling manages to burn it. I don't like the fact that a fairy didn't attack the Fletchling because Gale Wings gives okay. My recording just ended because apparently it's only a 5 minute version, but I'm just gonna assume that Mamon's gonna got handled. Okay. So yeah, I don't like the fact that Orpheum didn't attack the Fletchling because Gale Wings only activates when it's at full health, and you see that Tailwind's about to run out on this turn. So the fact that like if Fletchling wasn't at full health and it's paralyzed, it can easily be picked off. And then Shift Tree's pretty squishy as well. So if Orphan had attacked Fletchling on this turn, Azelf on this protect turn could definitely have taken out the Nuzleaf without the Tailwind, and then Orphan could also attack the Fletchling with whatever, because this guy's not actually doing real damage. So it's not really concerning. But we'll see if it matters. Okay, it does matter because it doesn't get full parrot and Azov dies. Yeah. And it'll scarf Azov too. Yeah, it's a really big missed opportunity for the Orphan to have not attacked the Fletchling to move its skill wings there. But yeah, I think the Nuzleaf is probably just gonna clean up. Like Wisp again, doesn't matter. I don't think this Orphan, a burnt Orphan, is gonna be able to like 1v4. Yeah, I do think that like Sophia should really be switching on this Fletchling though, because Orphan is clearly only gonna be able to attack the shift tree. And this is just sitting on the field doing nothing. So if the game was a bit closer, I would definitely have suggested this like hard switching fletch. Okay, she does it now, but I do think it could be done a lot earlier. Amarouge is forced to reveal expanding force, which is not exactly surprising. So in the end, not all too much information gathered, except for the fact that Magmorta didn't get brought, which is interesting because, like I said, Magmorta is probably the biggest thing in stopping Jumpluff from doing its thing. And Jumpluff didn't come, but neither did Magmorta, which mean that Fairy uh, didn't have a very good time. I probably would adjust to bring Jumpluff this time if Sophia just doesn't respect it, but if I was Sophia, I would definitely bring the Magmorta next game anyway, so we'll have to see. Also, remains to be seen what the fuck Dodrio is doing here and why the Palafin has a toxic orb. That is, I presume it's toxic orb. Like, the only thing I could guess is for Facade, but also like I don't see why you would need to run Facade with just like water moves and like coverage. Like, if you're afraid of like Terra Grass, it's like Ice Punch, unless like you're afraid of Terra Water, but that doesn't seem insane. I'm confused. Let's see game two. And we'll see the adaptation is just going to be the Psychic Search Duo in the front, and still Palafin Klefki up front. Which. Oh, okay. Misty Terrain and Fling. Okay, so if you didn't really see what happened there, there was a Toxic Orb, and Klefki used Prankster Misty Terrain. But the problem is that Misty Terrain has the effect where you cannot be grounded Pokemon cannot be statused. So while Palafin did get a damage off with Fling, it didn't actually poison the Indeedee because of this the Misty Terrain that a fairy herself set up, which is really confusing. Which is like, okay, I somewhat get it now because like if you do set up the Misty Terrain and Palafin stays in, it's not getting poisoned by the toxic orb at the end of the turn. But also, for one, you're a Palafin. I don't know why you want to be staying in. You should probably be either like hard swapping or like flip turning out so you can actually get your hero form. And two, it's like if you're gonna run Fling anyways, and you're not gonna even be able to poison whichever mon you're running, then you might as well just run a different item. It's pretty confusing because I don't think like okay because Fling even has like varied base power depending on what item you're carrying. And I do believe like bigger items like Big Nugget you get 120 base power Fling. But I think the Toxic Orb itself is only probably like 60 base power. So like you see, like even though it's super I don't know if it's 60 base power for the fact that it's 15% to MDD. Like I may be wrong. Maybe Fling is 20 base power with Toxic Orb. But yeah, basically you got barely any damage out of a Fling onto a Psychic type. You didn't get a poison, and that's your item slot with the Palafin. And you're still stuck on the field without having switched out for hero form. So all in all, it's a pretty bad scenario for a fairy. Yeah. The trick room has been set up and Fletchling has switched in, which is confusing because normally Fletchling, all it does is like Tailwind, and then it has like a slight bonus of like being able to wisp stuff, but it doesn't really make sense to me why it is common here. But we'll see. Protect on Klefki for the fire move, and there goes the flip turn. Flip turn didn't proc weak armor, which means that this is a flash fire Lich, probably designed to just work within the trick room. The foul play goes off before the expanding force, which means that either lagging tail Klefki or just a no, it's not gonna be lagging tail. Maybe it's just really slow fireball. But yeah, Misty Terrain to stop the expanding force from being a double target. Foul play does nothing again. And the flesh thing is probably just come in as I mean, it did end up getting sacked, but on the last turn of Trick Room, I can get why it was used. So like potentially if the Paladin had targeted the Serlich instead, you're gonna tailwind up on the last turn. But now that you've lost your priority tailwind, and Sophia is trying to sucker punch in her own psychic terrain. Um yeah, and she mentioned that
30 base
herself.
power. 30 for the toxic
Oh,
orb.
yeah, Fling is 30 base power. Yeah, I'm not surprised in the slightest. Yeah. Uh I think that if you wanted to run this Fling acrobatics set, and I understand the lack of jet punch because of psychic terrain. You don't really want to one jet punch. So I do think it's fine that the only one of moves are flip turn of wave crash. You know, you could, in theory, I know no Klefki is not running any speed whatsoever clearly, so you can't miss the terrain before the jet punch. So I do understand why there's no jet punch, but you could have just like run fling with like I said, big nugget, and that would actually like one shot a psychic type. So I do think it's a bit confusing why it's toxic for it, but yeah. I'm surprised that it's not expanding force on Azelf is psychic instead. I could be wrong, and maybe Azelf doesn't get expanding force this generation, but I think it should. Let me just go check. Let's see.
Um, Real quick,
It does get
I I
expanding
th
force.
I think because Azelf has Levitate, the expanding force, I don't know if it can hit 2 targets when Azelf used it.
Uh,
That
I
is
feel
correct.
like
Levitate makes you not affected by the terrains.
feel like I've seen it before, but maybe I'm tripping because I feel like I have seen like a late pixie expanding force in psychic terrain. Maybe the special tech that they use, like they use Iron Ball as self, possibly to make themselves grounded, so that they could uh use expanding force in the terrain. But I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that's not an interaction that I'm 100% confident in, but I've seen it mentioned somewhere before.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm confident in it. Also, I've seen people do the Iron Ball thing with both the Azelf
I see.
things and the Hisuian Braviary.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense then. Okay. So surprisingly, a fairy takes game two, and I think biggest thing is really just a fairy stalled out trick room, and Sophia got too greedy trying to bring in the Fletch in there on the last turn of trick room, and it just got wave crash instantly. Because I do feel like Sophia had a pretty good shot of still winning if she just let the trick room run out, let the Armorage die, and then just bring in Fletch in there safely with the shift tree next to it. I think that would have been okay spot for Sophia because the Dodrio again still have no idea why it's being brought because it clearly has done nothing. The Palafin took forever to switch out with the Toxic or the Klefki is. I'm so surprised that the Klefki is running Protect. Protect on Klefki actually does help stall out Trick Room, but in general, people aren't looking towards focusing down a Klefki. So it's like it feels like a wasted spot at post because now we know its full move set is Misty Terrain, Protect, Foul Play, Thunderwave. Doesn't feel like the most impactful set outside of just having Misty Terrain to undo the what's it called? The Psychic Terrain. Also, again, it's Misty Terrain plus Thunderwave, and it can't Thunderwave within the Psychic Terrain because it's Prankster. But it can't Thunderwave within the Misty Terrain either because it's Misty Terrain. So it's just a very confusing set. I do expect Sophia to bring that game free, barring like poor play from her again. So we'll just have to see. Again, okay, going back to the Tailwind duo. John Pluff finally makes an appearance because Magmorta has not been coming out, which I respect. And Dojira does nothing again. Power Herb. Sky attack, maybe? That's strange. Okay. John Pluff uses Tailwind. Azov tries to trick the Nuzleaf. The Sleep Powder finally goes off because, um, again, Sophia did not bring the Magmortar for the Jump Pluff. Oh, and it was safety goggles, which did get tricked away. Oh my goodness, Jump Bluff is putting in bad work, which is exactly what I said at the start. Is that I think the Jump Bluff is very necessary to put in insane amount of work, but it's hard to do that if the McMortar doesn't come. But the McMortar hasn't come, so now Jump Bluff is doing Jump Bluff things to them. Tailwind gets set up, and Trick Room gets. Oh, that's pretty bad. Yeah. Jump Bluff is getting focused down. Dazzling Gleam does pick up the KO on Fletchling and do very good damage to Shift Tree. But unfortunately, within this Trick Room, I don't know if a fairy can necessarily survive it. Which is looking like Surlich is going to be able to pick up, probably just pick up KO after KO. King itself gets Sucker Punch to crit. Most likely did not matter. And that looks like the end of game 3. Okay, I think the biggest things was that the Indeedee did wake up on a very good turn for it because Indeedee comes in here, gets pretty sure it gets tricked and put to sleep. So it hasn't taken a sleep turn here. This helping hand, psychic does okay, this is a waste of a 1 sleep turn probably because that did absolutely nothing. I understand wanting to kill this, but it's pretty unfortunate. But the most unfortunate thing is really just that Indeedee had a 1 turn sleep, which allowed it to get the trick room off because it's pretty possible that like if it didn't get a 1 turn wake up, with the Spadef drop from Psychic, it's a decent chance that they might have been able to focus down the Indeedee to either deny the trick room or just do enough damage to the rest of the team, forcing like the outreach to be brought in earlier or the Nuzleaf to be brought in earlier, so that a fairy had a better chance of like being able to withstand the trick room. So yeah, a little unfortunate. Sophia somehow gets away with never bringing Magmortar versus a fast sleep powder user. But yeah, Sophia takes this game.